Well, hello, creatives, community, kind folks out there. It's DBJ. I hope that daylight savings time or what have you doesn't have you guys all discombobulated. But let me preamble just a little bit so that those who are across the pond may or may not be able to join us. For you guys who don't know, you guys in the chat know, but for those who don't know, there was a special broadcast by me to help support Con Plus, the 24-hour convention, and Child's Play, a nonprofit that puts role-playing games in the hands of children in hospitals. So we talked about cinematic environs, not just my own, but about the idea of using the idea of cinema, tension and action and such, and environments, and of course that often overlooked third pillar that I'm such a fan of, and that I am the self-appointed third pillar-ist in the RPG community. So we talked about that for an hour. So if you didn't think I normally do broadcasts on the weekend, I did. So there is one out there. Go ahead and take a look at that. There were actually some things that I didn't mention on that video, and I went on for quite a while. It was about an hour as usual, but there were a couple things I didn't mention, like preventing the environment helps prevent spectacle creep, and it's a great way to for every environment that you can think of, you get to multiply all the creatures that you have at your disposal by that amount. So if you can count 8 to 10 different environments from urban, subterranean, forest, mountain, desert, coastal, aquatic, you can go on and on, jungle, swamp. Like if you could take all those, then that means every creature that you have, or a majority of them, you can multiply your monster manual by that number, so you never run out of ideas and such. And lastly, I didn't bring up the fact that you can modulate CR levels. You can modulate the encounter challenges by having the creatures completely adapted to the region, or they have no clue, that kind of thing. So hello everybody, Kiwi, Deadman, JP, Fat Ninjas up in the house. Yeah, Proo. Yeah, good morning. Finally, our times match much better again. Been a rough week. Yeah, exactly. We all throw our hands up in frustration over DST and how it's used and where it's used, and places that change time and don't change time. It's crazy. So anyway, this week is Chase Week. Last week, you guys brought up something. I normally kind of give a little preamble what's going to happen the next week, but I didn't, because I was kind of distracted about the Con Plus. So looking forward to next year. Hopefully going to arrange to run some games. I don't get to run games very often, so I'll probably have to do like a midnight game or something like that. But this week is Chase Week. We're going to talk about nothing but the chase, giving chase and everything, and try to hyper focus it on our different subjects that we have every week. So today's Monster Monday, and on Monster Monday, we're going to talk about chases with, well, hell, monsters, creatures, even NPCs. So the first thing we need to think about in a chase is that in many ways, when we think about a chase, we're kind of like adding, not only using the environment. Oh, the Quickling. Yeah, the Quickling's legendary in Dungeons and Dragons as like the top sprinter. I believe, and I could be mistaken, that the Quickling speed began as 240 at a time when your average speed was between 30 feet to 60 feet for an average character. And I believe it came out when there really wasn't that much that would modify a speed. It had a land speed of like 240. It basically never stayed on a map. If you ever used a grid, it just never stayed. It could easily easily burst on and off a map. That's how quick it was, and that's the whole purpose of it. But so of that creature, it was a tiny, little tiny fey creature, and I think it had god awful attacks. Like I think it had like 6 attacks around or something like that, with a little tiny needle-like rapier or what have you, and a big old head. The picture showed it had a big old head. So in terms of having a chase, we have to take into account the environment that you're chasing in, and of course any hazards or obstacles and things like that that are in the way. But since we're talking about Monster Monday, the case may be setting up situations where the PCs are running from or running towards an adversary. So what kind of creatures can we think of? So let's think of like situations that would have the PCs chasing after something. That's far easier, because PCs tend not to run from things. They tend to run towards things because they're kick-ass and they're tough, and many of them have no fear, right? I mean, we're living vicariously through our characters, and we have our own fears. Characters don't. So one of the things you want to do when creating monsters and having a chase is, of course, take a look at some creatures that pretty much outpace the PCs, which are going to generally be anything that can fly or run fast. Remember, in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, there is the dash action, which allows them to, essentially double their movement, or more specifically, move and then move again. So a horse, felines, lupine creatures, those kind of creatures are probably going to have, as a standard movement, probably 50 to 80, and you can double that so when they get a double move. So if they're moving 120, now they're moving 120 feet. They're moving 160 feet and whatnot. The bad thing, of course, about that is they've got their back turned and they don't have the ability to respond. But if the encounter somehow happens at the edge of the PC's range, for example, the PCs are trudging through the dark wood, and on the very edge of their perception, a scouting party of 3 orcs is alerted, and then they go running away. So now you've already got like a football field between them, and the PCs are like, man, we're trying to sneak past their army, and their scouts are going, we've got to give chase to shut them down. We've got to give chase. Having Prue says a dragon that takes off before the PCs take it down, almost no matter the strength left in the party, they'll try to chase it. Exactly. So dragons, your other lizard-like dragon type things can, if you want to introduce them to a lower level party, or kind of do a little nudge, wink, like, hey, wyverns, drakes, pterodactyls, anything. Heck, Pegasi, a flock of Pegasi, or griffins, manticores, anything that can fly, harpies, gargoyles. So it could be that they have been spotted. Maybe something flies overhead and spots them, something's extremely tough, and decides to fly away. Maybe they're bored, or they were literally headed somewhere else. So the players are in the woods. They're walking down a lonely road. They look up, they see classic V formation of flying knights on the back of giant eagles or something, and they look up and they see where they're going, and maybe on the horizon there's a castle. Boom, here we go, let's go after them. It could be the players are members of some kind of like rival to the things that are flying, so there's some connection other than just a random encounter. It could be that they've been spotted by, I don't know, kobold riding pterodactyl people, and they're flying off to a narrow valley or something where there's this haven, and the players give chase. So a good idea is to place the encounter at the edge of their perception. And sure, maybe some of the players take down some of the, pterodactyl riders or whatnot, but the other ones, they circle away, they ascend up out of range, and then they fly away. Players give chase. Same thing for ground-based creatures. Also, you can also put a MacGuffin in the hands of the creatures and have them give chase. So the flying creatures in its claw has the classic prince or princess that needs to be rescued or something. It's got treasure. It's got the magic sword. It has an important missive that has to be retrieved because it talks about troop movements, and anything that ties to any of the players' backgrounds. A noble that is a member of the player's background, the shackled member of one of the players' shadow organization. One of their members has been kidnapped or captured or something. A family member, and anything that is a MacGuffin that the players know that if this belongs to me and someone's taken it from me, or I need to find it, there it is. It's just close enough for me to touch. I'm going to give chase. Jared Premont says special movement types like flying, burrowing, absolutely swimming, climbing. You can get some really interesting chase sequences when you mix in a bit of odd terrain. Absolutely. Imagine chasing I don't know, the bipedal wolves or something that the players think through the woods, and they see the red eyes of the wolves run horizontally away from them, but then they come across a deep chasm or like a sheer cliff, and you find out that they're running across the canopy of trees. So now the PCs have to, like, they didn't realize that these wolven-like creatures have like a climbing speed. So now the players have to like balance their way across giant tree limbs, a la like Avatar or, Tarzan movies or something like that. JP goes on to say that creatures that teleport or plane shift or do something along those lines can make things extra complicated, especially a high-level party. Popping in and out, like almost like the Thor: The Dark World. You have this weird chase through portals through different regions of planes, from like the elemental plane of air to the negative plane to the astral plane to, I don't know, the nine hells back to the ethereal plane or something like that. Like you could really do something really odd, and especially with like micro worlds, because there's technically an infinite number of worlds, and so you could have a list of bizarre regions where there's like, you go through a region, there's zero gravity, and then there's the portal at the end, so you maneuver your way through the zero gravity, and when you get to the other end, it's like heavy gravity, and you get to another end, and it's a world that's completely underwater. It's it's the plane of water. There is no air. It's all basically submerged, and they have to swim through it. And then on the other end, it's the whole place is upside down or something. Like, it could be really weird like that. Poo says, or the classic steal from the party trick. Steal one copper piece from a party and the players will absolutely positively go insane. They will hunt down a single copper, they'll hunt something down to the ends of the earth. They will completely ignore your other plot if they have to chase someone or something down that has stolen from them. Steal a player's sword, they will move heaven and earth to get it back. Steal a PC spell book, anything like that. Steal their favorite hat. You know what I mean? That was my tabard, and they will rip the world apart to go after them. So if you want to motivate some players to chase something down, take something from them, and just start the game out that way. They will absolutely positively follow your plot line, if that's your intention. Dead Man, the storyteller, says, or a creature that moves through the ground without digging, like elementals, any kind of earth elemental, Zorns, but even burrowing creatures. Prue says, I love displacer beasts and blink dogs. Yeah, hell yeah, they're the classic, like unlinked creature in Dungeons and Dragons. Like, they exist, but they kind of exist in their own world. I did a video on displacer beasts and blink dogs. Someone said, what if there was only one displacer beast and blink dog, and that all the other displacer beasts and blink dogs we've ever seen are quantum variations off of that very same singular blink dog and displacer beast, and that there's been giant war between them for all eternity through time and space and stuff, and that we just don't understand that it's always ever been the one. It's like a giant paradox, right? But yeah, now also giving chase, absolutely. JP even kind of brings up the fact of, like, you could get some really interesting chase sequences when you mix in a bit of odd terrain. So once something runs away with whatever it is, they steal something from the party. I don't know. They Benny Hill one of the party members in the back of the head. They lick their fingers and give them a little smack right on that flesh, and then they run for it. Whatever the case may be, right? They run for it. The PCs give chase. Now this is the great opportunity for you to add something in. Okay, they run away. Does the creature burrow? Do they swim? Can they pass through solid objects? Are they flying? What kind of obstacles do you want to put in the way of the PCs? And this is where you can modulate the time sequence, doing it either like round by round. You could do this minute by minute, hour by hour, even day by day. So the creature runs away, and it runs off into the distance. Okay, well, what's between the PCs and the distance? Are there chasms, tall mountains? Are there spiky brambles? Is there fire? What kind of hazards do you want to put in the way? And this is a great way for you to, quote unquote, use those unused skills: nature, survival, athletics for climbing, acrobatics to dodge around things. Let's throw in some investigation to discover something that might have been hidden before. And slowly and surely, you can now rechange the focus of not the character that does the most damage is the most effective to the one that can navigate the best, or maybe the one that's the fastest, the one that's the most perceptive, the one that can fit into tight spaces to get past something. Anything like that. You can move the spotlight around to allow this heavily muscled barbarian now has to pick up the halfling to throw them over an ancient stone wall, because whatever creature it was passed through the walls of a gigantic ancient city state or something, and the PCs didn't know what it was, so now they have to navigate like a maze, because this creature can go through the walls. Maybe it's elemental, but the PCs can't. So they have to navigate through a maze of walls and rooftops and ceilings and underground, and, passing through people's, ancient homes and whatnot. And so then you can throw other things. Maybe something's, the ground is rough, it's crumbling. There are all kinds of stuff, and so on and so forth. And whatever runs away, maybe it places between itself and the PCs other hazards, other creatures. For example, Deadman says the ethereal filcher. Yeah, something ethereal steals something, goes away. PCs need to go after it, and now we have ourselves some random-ish encounters. You can say, well, there's going to be 5 encounters before they reach the flying creature that lands in its nest or something, right? Maybe there's a griffin that stole something from the party and flies off into the mountain. It could be a very low-level game, and the king has the king's upset because the princess, somehow the Pegasus flew away, and he gathered this Pegasus from far and wide, and it decided to go off. So the Pegasus still has its special mount, and it's still got his saddle, bridle, whatever the things are that horses that you ride on a horse, except it's flying, and it flies away, and the PCs are tasked with bringing it back. Maybe it flew up into the mountains very far away. The PCs are like, well, hey, we can do it. We'll get in good with the queen and the king, because they're upset that their daughter is upset that lost her Pegasus. It decided to fly away. So the PCs go after it, and then they encounter a couple things. They've got to help each other get across the rickety old rope bridge. They've got to climb up high into the mountains. Maybe they have to hunt for some food. There's a sudden storm comes by, and there's high winds, and they've got to hold on to the tree branches or get blown away or slide downhill or something like that. You can add all kinds of environmental things. They encounter that pack of rabid wolves, and get attacked by rams or billy goats or something that are hanging on the side of the mountain to get up to a nest where maybe the Pegasus wanted to get back to its young in the nest. And the PCs are like, oh, and maybe that becomes that. It's not to kill the bad guy, it's to bring back the horse, you know what I mean? To bring back the special treasure. And maybe they find 3 other baby Pegasi or something like that, and they save their lives. And maybe that now becomes the gift that is granted to the PCs when they get older, and it takes 18 months for them to grow to adulthood, which allows the PCs to gain 5 levels, and now they're Pegasus riders. I'm going through a whole big story in my head just thinking about something like that, but you could absolutely have a number of encounters, both environmental and with creatures or adversaries, between where the PCs have to go and where they are now. Also, trying to set up, of course, the big thing when having a chase is player characters are quite brilliant, and it could be possible you set up a situation where the flying wyvern or the burrowing purple worm riders and the Durgar or something, they go to tunnel away, and although in your head, man, there's no way they're going to catch them, the PCs pull something out of their ass and boom, blast the dragon on a 20 and gets a crit or something or whatever, and then it goes down, and now they've got the MacGuffin. There's no need for them to run. Essentially, and I know the players are, if there are any players out there who see this video, are going to get pissed off at me. It's the GM or DM's job to set up a situation to create the drama and conflict in the first place. I would suggest that you start out the situation where the PCs understand they're chasing something and they can't catch it. I know I'm breaking a cardinal rule by taking away agency, but hear me out. You start the whole situation out with you saw this thing took something from you, it kidnapped, it captured, it has something that you need, they're scouts or whatever, and they've gotten away. You are now chasing them down. You woke up in the morning, you saw it on the horizon, and it spun around, and the PCs, of course, are going to go, oh, I would have shot at it, or blah, blah, blah. Nope, because it was too far away. It was just too far away. Well, I could shoot my magic missile 600 feet. Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to hit it. It's not, no. I'm the person who creates the situations for you to get involved in. This is the beginning of the game. This is how it begins. Now go after it. Now you have to travel through miles of terrain or swamp or something, or get on your horses and ride hard across the plains or something. Just create the situation. Yes, take away the agency. Just tell them that they can't get at it. Then allow the players to, once you set something up like that, when you take player agency away, it's immediately your responsibility to put the agency back in their hands, to allow them to act and to make their own choices. So I believe at the beginning, like from my opinion is the game master sets up the situation I'm in. So if I'm a player and the game master says, you wake up on a beach on a deserted island and the ship that you were on is sinking, tell me why you were on this ship. I'm all in, right? Okay. Oh, wow, I woke up on a deserted island. Okay, well, my paladin was going on a pilgrimage. My assassin was supposed to hide and take a trip before to a distant land to go after an enemy. My cleric was had a dream and was told by my deity to go to this place. My bard found an ancient map and it detailed this location. Like, you could just come up with an idea. The game master says, hey, here's the situation you're in, and as players we decide how we get into it. I think that's probably for the best. Also, here's the harder one. Having the PCs run from something, very difficult. Hey, Rickard, having the PCs run from something can be very difficult if you don't first. It's that session 0 thing. It's the okay, guys, here's the situation, right? It's you've been running from these creatures for hours. You're exhausted. You've all hidden in the woods, and they're on your tail. Now, what do you do? Now, for the most part, a lot of player characters are going to go, my character's not really scared of anything, but okay, I get it. We're going to hide and turn around and then try to attack them. But one way of doing it is to set up a situation where you give an example of how powerful something is by having it hurt something else. It's a very common television and movie trope. You have the bad guy always likes to kill off their own henchmen in movies and television. It's a trope because they're trying to explain to you visually how ruthless and how tough the big bad is before the heroes go after them. So it's very rare that you'll get a Avengers movie with Thanos where Thanos kicks the Hulk's ass, right? It's very rare you're going to get that opportunity to perform something like that, to prove it. Normally, it's a matter of you describe to the players that the greatest knight in the realm was beheaded, and his head was brought on a spike by the ancient warlike lich that rode before the castle, threw the pike down, left his head there, broken sword, and walked off with his army, right? The PCs are like, oh, that thing is twice as powerful as us, and the enemy killed it. How the hell? Now, of course, there are some players that roll their eyes and go, well, that's probably just legend. We could probably take it on. But really, the idea is the creature blasted through the castle walls, and the PCs are like, how powerful is it to blast through a castle wall? The greatest mage in the land imprisoned it behind an invisible field of force, and it just shattered it in one fell swoop of its great claws, and grabbed the ancient wizard by its throat and ripped his head from his shoulders or something. And they're going, I think that wizard was like 18th level. Like, how the hell was he able to do that? So we can't fight it. We're only like 5th level. So you can do examples. You can basically foreshadow how tough something is. That's a possibility. Also, like I said before, you can also do in media res, right? In the middle of the action, the idea that you were already running from something. Something happened. You were already there. There were just too many of them. You ran from the troops from the orc horde, and you are now being pursued by scouts. Okay, now start. Grab some dice, roll some initiative, make your stealth rolls or whatever, hiding in the woods or in the trees or something. So you can have players. Lastly, have that session 0. Tell them that this game is going to be far more gritty. Tell them that there will be enemies that will overpower you. Let them know that, hey, this is friggin' Dark Sun. This is Conan. This is Cryfoth. This is a brutal world in which you're going to live, and don't be surprised if I kill your character off, right? JP says, yeah, always kill a known power to give the players something to compare it to. A great way to get rid of any NPCs you can't be bothered running any longer. Yeah, hell, I always say you're not going to run out of NPCs. Grab an NPC the players know. One of their favorite sage, their favorite king, their favorite princess, their favorite stable hand or something like that. But make it an NPC that's got some grit to them. The veteran warrior that's been the best friend of one of the player characters and trained them in swordsmanship and known to be one of the best swordsmen who gets struck down in the street as he takes on 8 and 10 and 12 goblinoid hordes, and then all of a sudden the big chieftain comes through, which you've already reskinned because you made him like a troll or a minotaur, a stat block or something like that. He goes through and boom, he just gets his ass smacked around, and the PCs are just like, no, do the slow motion scream like, no, and the PCs run for it, right? That's the beginning of the preamble. It's you saw this happen. There were, your family and friends held you back. There was nothing you can do. All the enemies looked towards you as you screamed and you ran for it. And it's been hours. You've ran into the dark woods. Now what do you do, right? You can set a situation up like that. Rickard Johansson says, It might feel like a cheat, but don't forget that you can tell the players out of character that the characters know how screwed they know they are, and if they go up against a monster at this time, hell yeah. I mean, we tend to criticize metagaming, right? Oh, don't metagame. Metagame. It's metagaming used as a cheat is a negative thing, but metagaming just literally like, hey guys, listen, this is what's going to happen. You know, but in a you know that this is something that is too powerful for you, and you know you're going to get your ass kicked stat wise. You already know it. Your third level, this thing is powerful as all hell. There's no way you're going to win. You better run. Right now, remember, assumed professionalism. Okay, a third level fighter knows that an eighth level fighter is better than them. And then they know that a creature that is, I don't know, CR17 that whoops ass on an eighth level fighter can kill them easily. It is not that they know the stats. It's, hey, I'm skilled enough with a sword to know that that dude is far better than me. And for them to get their ass kicked, I better run. It's not really metagaming. It really is. It's actual knowledge, right? I know my ass will get kicked by a green beret. I don't know what stats they are. I don't know what level a green beret is, but I do know that if me and a green beret go one-on-one, like, it's Chocolate City down in the pants. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need to know stats or don't need the metagame to know that if clearly this other individual has far more skill and talent and power than me, that they're going to overtake me, and it's time for me to turn tail and asses and elbows, right? I feel like both session 0, out of game, and in game things have plenty of opportunity to explain it, unless of course your players are playing a like high level, we're never scared of anything, we don't back down. Azala, hey, boyfriend called in late, so we overslept, but I'm here. Yay! The daylight savings time has yet another victim. Jared says, "What do you mean you wouldn't jump into the volcano? That's metagaming. Your character doesn't know no lava will deal 20d6 fire damage. Yeah, it's so stupid, right? Like it's quite apparent, and even characters who have, I mentioned this before, like an 18 intelligence wizard and a 10 intelligence fighter could very easily know the exact same information. Hell, the fighter may know more information. The wizard's like, I feel this thing is powerful. And the 10 intelligence fighter says, you're damn right. Dude, I fought next to this dude and he took out a legion of 20 single-handedly, hurt with his offhand, and he gets his ass kicked by this thing. We better run. Like, you don't need book knowledge to know that and to give do that, right? Zala says, quote, you wouldn't know how powerful vampire is, so you can't run away. Yeah, right. Even things that we don't, human nature tells us if we don't know it, we are scared of it. If we don't know its capabilities, we ought to be scared of it in the first place. A vampire is an immortal being that probably has an aura of such grand power that whether my character knows he can fight it or not, I'd still want to run. I'm not going up one-on-one against these things. Now, of course, if your character's 17th level, you've probably encountered many of these things. You're probably half superhero at that point. So it's all about experiences and knowledge. And, it's not just experience points, but it is experiences, right? Do we know trolls are harmed by fire? Yeah, that's probably a wives' tale that's always told around the campfire to little kids to scare them at night. I mean, I can imagine that being a thing, but to finally see a troll under the bridge that asks for a toll, and you're just like, oh shit, yeah, let's gather our copper pieces together and see if this is going to work and pay him, because we really ought to run, right? Poo says, and then Chocolate City was a mimic. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah. Oh, my ass gave birth to a mimic. Oh man, yeah. Yeah, setting up situations where your PCs run from something. Sure, you might have to sit them down if they're the type that like they never back down. It's like, it's the movie. Never back down. We never ever run. So you might want to sit them down. Maybe your world is filled with these things. The basis of your world is humanity has been running forever. They're hiding in the cracks and crevices of the world. They're living in caves and in ruins, and there are no big cities because these powerful things run around. So sure, Dark Sun, hell yeah, I'm running. These post-apocalyptic settings, yeah, I'm running. Rickard says, I don't care if a Lovecraftian monster deals 1 hit point damage and has 1 hit point. I ain't going near it no matter the level. I'll nuke it from orbit. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And so having the players run from something is a great thing. Now, there is another way to create the running from something. It doesn't necessarily have to be fear. Again, here's the MacGuffin. The players need to get from A to B, and you set a time limit. You've got 3 days. You've got 3 hours. You've got 3 minutes. You've got 3 rounds to get from A to B, and something is trying to stop you from doing it. It's not a matter of whether you can kill the thing. You have to go. This is especially good if you want to run like the eternal battle kind of thing, right? The 40K battle where it's not so much that you win. It's more important for you to get to the objective. It could be enemies. Your allies are stuck behind enemy lines and you have to reinforce them. It could be there's an important knowledge or missive or a scroll that a powerful wizard needs to cast a spell to rid the world of a powerful demon. And this powerful wizard needs these special ingredients, the MacGuffin, right? It needs a certain gem. It needs certain materials. It needs the other half of the page that was ripped out of the book to cast the demon away. The PCs don't have the ability to get the demon away, but they sure as hell are needed to do it. And this is how you can introduce really powerful enemies to low-level encounters, right? The wizard is just the mechanism to get something done. But the wizard's not the important people. It's the PCs that are 5th level or 3rd level that need to get this pit fiend, off the material plane that's wrecking havoc across the countryside. The PCs have to get the scroll to the wizard's tower, and anything that gets in their way will stop them. So sure, they can stop and fight something, but they're going to waste time. Azala says it's like the difference between fighting an orc at level 1 and fighting orc at level 15. Exactly. If you're level 1, you don't know what the hell's going on. I'm running for it. If you're level 15, dude, you can fight them barehanded, drunk, stumbling out of a tavern, right? It's your experience level with what they are and what they can do matters, and role playing that out. You can roll if my character's 3rd level and your character's 7th level. Maybe I'm scared, but you're like, I'm going to sit and fight. And that has role-playing opportunities to put into the game. Bruce says, I feel like sometimes players simply forget that they can flee. I sometimes give them a reminder. A more or less tactical retreat can be smart and fun. And yeah, it doesn't mean turning tail and being scared and frightened. No one wants to feel like they're useless and have to run, but tactical retreats make perfect sense, right? Let's presume there's like 3 PCs, but what the PCs need to do is lure the enemy into a trap, right? They'll be surrounded by 200 archers and 15 mounted knights or something, and it's the PC's job to poke the enemy and then run from them in a tactical retreat to have them trapped. Maybe they need to be captured. Maybe the basilisk has been terrorizing the countryside, but they need to capture it alive. So it's the job of the PCs to go poke the basilisk, run from it, put the blanket party over top of it, you know what I mean? Pin it down, get it trapped, get chains on it, because there's other people who will put it in the king's zoo. Although why the people that want to go visit the zoo with the basilisk could only visit it once, but you understand what I'm saying, right? You can have alternate objectives when you have a chase. So the PCs can run from something specifically to lure it into a pit, to lure it into a trap, to lure it away from something else. The PCs, maybe there's a battle, and the PCs are the decoy, and the PCs are given the instruction: you are to engage the enemy, but lose. You're supposed to look as if you cannot take on the enemy, and your job is to run to get the enemy to divert its attention away from its objective towards you as a decoy. So basically you have to fight them and convince the enemy that they have the superior numbers or power, and lure them away, and have the giant sized orc chieftain that you've reskinned as a hill giant or something like that, right? And he's got his lieutenants, and his lieutenants are reskinned ogres. Okay, and then you've got your regular orcs, and they go running after the party. There's like 35 orcs and stuff, and they run after the party. And sure, the players are like 5th level, and they're like, we could take them on, but that's not the job. That's not the mission. The mission is to lure them 5 miles away so that reinforcements can help somebody else out. And so you can have a chase happen. Zala says the couple times we did run away from the enemy with my old main DM, fun stuff happened, like riding a boat down a mountain with a rock chasing us, dodging trees and rocks. You can have a lot of fun with the chase, you know what I mean? Like just having, hell, being in a boat going down a raging river, being in a mine cart with the mine carts going down the shafts where you're holding on, and you have the little brake handle on the side and stuff. I mean, yeah, that's having a fun chase through the streets, in a wagon and horses or something, or running across rooftops, running away from the enemy, up over through hills and valleys and streams and mud and tall grasses and things. Like, you can have a ton of fun in a chase. It's basically like it's bringing up the third pillar again. It's that 3-point system, right? You've got your combat. You have some of your social interaction. Maybe you're interacting with the enemy across distances, yelling at them or yelling out false objectives. We need to get to the ridge, and but really you're lying about it. But you have that other third element too. So you have the players, you have the adversaries, and you have the environment that's affecting it. If everyone's going downhill, maybe they have to make like acrobatics checks to hold on as they slide downhill. Everyone's sitting on the back of a shield, bottom of a shield on their rear end, sliding down the snow-covered hills or something. You can have a ton of fun as people try to chase you down, and you're outrunning the avalanche or what have you. Rickard says, in my current campaign, the most memorable scene for my players were them trying to reseal a demon. They knew they wouldn't survive a direct encounter with it, so they tried to stall it long enough. And there you go. Time is a great tension generator. Instead of like fighting the demon head on, they've got to stall it long enough for something to be sealed, right? It's a classic Call of Cthulhu thing. Adventure 2, right? The PCs are normal humans. They're going to get their ass kicked. But if we do this thing long enough, someone can, you kill the cultists. The portal to let Cthulhu is open. Cthulhu's tentacles are reaching through, but someone else can read the chant to close the portal, and we've got 5 rounds to keep the tentacles busy or something while someone undoes the ritual or what have you. Rickard said they were scared as hell and they felt really pressed. And he goes on to say, I did have to tell them straight up, your characters know you can't stand a chance against this thing if things go south. So I had to metagame that like all hell. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's not breaking a rule. That is like, guys, listen, you know this in your heart. You feel this in your bones. It's not even a metagaming thing. Like, your PC knows. Like, just something in the air just tells you this is not going to work if I go head to head with this thing. Prue says a quote, hold this sick ass monster up for a while. Powerful help is coming, but you don't know exactly when. Exactly. Exactly right. Sure, the barbarian does. I always bring up the barbarian because really in game, I think it's like paladins and rogues that do a hell of a lot of damage, but whatever the case may be, right? You have that person that dishes out a lot of damage, but we need you to do something else, right? We need you to take on the powerful creature, not to win, but to give us enough chance to do something else, right? To close the portal, to distract it long enough so that we can steal its spell book and rip the pages out and cast it back where it came from. You know what I mean? To steal the gem that's powering it to allow it to live on the prime material plane and whatever the MacGuffin is. Jared says you can also use meta information to make players tense. This quote, man, I do not have enough D12s for this creature's damage dice. Letting it trail off. Hell yeah. You start reaching across the table. Hey guys, can I borrow those D12s? I don't have enough. I've got to roll for damage. And then the PC is just like, what the exactly. Those things. What's the game? Dread, where you do the mechanic is the tumbling tower. PCs don't see this, but it's a metagaming thing, right? You start grabbing dice out and start making rolls, and looking at the numbers and going, "Oh, you guys aren't going to like this," or "Man, somebody's going to get taken down." That is a thing. Absolutely. I love that, Jerry. Can I borrow your D12s? I don't have enough. Yeah. As I always say, that's also a way to put in the faux DMPC, a paladin making short work of the vampire's minions, obviously more powerful than the PCs. Then he gets his head ripped off by the main vampires. Like, oh shit. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Putting in the faux DMPC, the PCs hate it when you've got that one person, that one shining knight, and he's all powerful, that one lady who's like the best assassin in the world and found dead. You know what I mean? They make, like you said, they make short work. Oh, this is whatever. They wash their hands like, this is my light work. Whatever. A horde of orcs, whatever. I'm a paladin. Look, don't even hand me my +5 Vorpal flaming Holy Avenger or whatever. I'm just going to summon it to my hand and slay all the enemies. And the PCs are folding their arms like, this is stupid. He's so powerful. There's all the attention on him. And then, oh, what the hell? The main vampire ripped his head off. What the shit? Yeah, we're not going to fight that thing. You know what I mean? You can absolutely set that up, especially if you set it up where you want the players to hate, like, to like love hate that character. Like, yeah, he's on our side, but he's kind of taking the spotlight, and then you just rip that character a new one. That's a great way for you as a DM to go to prove to your players too. A, hey, I don't mind taking out my best NPCs. B, DMPCs, they're not going to help you out. And I get to show the power of my bad guy. Yeah, you better make a run for it. Oh, and he sees where you're at and sends his minions after you. That's the great chase where the in the movies, the classic, we're running at full speed, the enemy's walking slow. We're running at full speed, the enemy's walking slow, and they're catching up to us anyway. JP says there can also be creatures that the players don't want to fight, like maybe the ire of a celestial creature, or maybe a faith thing that bestows a terrible curse on whoever slays it. Exactly. Also, in a run from something, this is a good way to add in those good creatures, but you're trying to figure out how to have your PCs fight them. Having the PCs run from something that they don't want to kill. Okay, like you said, a celestial creature. Maybe it's a cadre of angels. It is the storm giant that has it's the good king that doesn't understand that the PCs have a bit of knowledge that no one else does. For example, the PC, there's a big war against the enemy. I always bring up the goblinoid horde, right? But the goblinoid horde's on one end of the countryside and the PCs are on the other end of the countryside. But there's a small village that needs to be saved. And the PCs have to make a choice. Do we stick with the king and say, no, we're going to hold our ground? Or do we break ranks and go out and try to save the villagers because they're going to be in the middle of this orc army? And the king, the military commander is like, look, not only should we not break ranks, if we run out there, their forward scouts are going to see us and they're going to prepare. We have them trapped. They don't know that we're lined up, ready to engulf them. If you go out there, you're going to ruin our tactical advantage. But the PCs decide to leave anyway. They decide to run for it. We're going to save those villagers. There's 200 of them, and they're as important to our country as everything. We need to save their lives. So the PCs are running from their own good allies, maybe. You have social interaction where they argue the point that losing a few lives doesn't matter in saving, hundreds of thousands of lives in the main city. And you can have that back and forth as they're riding on their horses or flying through the air on their griffins. And I don't want to kill you, but I will if I have to. And it's like, you're going to have to stop us. And you could have that interaction where they're running from a good creature. It could also be, maybe these angels were sent down to slay evil. And the PCs are like, wait a minute, these are innocent people. And the angels are like, yes, but if we kill them all, if we slay everyone here, there will be no evil. And the PCs have to fight them and maybe draw them away from the public because the angels are slaughtering the human beings or whatever on the slight off chance that they might breed evil. Or maybe someone saw in the future that a great evil king will be born, and so the PCs bring the pregnant princess and her lover or something away, and the PCs have to run for it and save this person's life, even though the good angels are like, we have to kill that child because that child is destined to become a great evil or something, right? Scott Poe says a chase with a massive creature that's damaging the environment and is causing it to rain down stones, ruins, trees on the PCs as they run from it or after it. Hell yeah, the classic Tarrasque, right? Or on the open seas, the classic Kraken, where this thing is massive. It is Godzilla sized. It is city sized. There's no way for the PCs to fight it, period. Absolutely, positively, period. All it's doing is just wrecking the entire countryside. It's just walking through countryside by countryside. Its literal motion is disrupting the clouds and shattering mountains and throwing debris up. And the PCs have to run from it. And maybe there is a way to stop it. You have yourself a time limit, right? It'll literally destroy the world. And even enemies have become allies now because there is no one to fight it. And so now this could become, we're first level characters, and as we run from it and try to survive in this post-apocalyptic land where this Godzilla Tarrasque thing is destroying everything, we're gaining knowledge, we're gaining levels. Maybe one day we can stand up to fight it, or distract it long enough for maybe something else to banish it to another world, or what have you. JP says it could even be part of the character's own backstory, their own family or friends. They don't want a confrontation, so they always avoid them. You know what? Hell yeah. If imagine that, a loved one, a brother, a sibling, a grandfather, an aunt or something is on the other side of a conflict. It doesn't necessarily mean they're evil. It could be that they're on the other side of a conflict and they want to chase down the PCs, or they're running away from the PCs because they've always looked at things from different sides. They've been on the same side, but they look at things differently. One PC could be, look, I'm all about peace. We should work together. The other one's like, no, we need to kill them all. Or it could be the opposite way. You shouldn't have hate in your heart. Whatever we do, we should always try to have a peace treaty with our enemies. And the PCs are like, they'll never honor a treaty with us. They always break the treaties. They always backstab us. And you can have that emotional conflict where the PCs are always running away from, or running after, or running away from their own backstory, their own things. The wizard that left their own wizard's conclave, and the other wizards want to bring them back. You belong with us. You shouldn't be part of human politics. We're above that. We're into studying. And you're like, if we're going to have this great power, we need to do something with it. We need to save lives. We need to get honor. We need to go after treasure. And they're like, no. We're like Buddhist monks. We don't engage in the material things. We only study and read. And you're like, I'm out. And it could be that conflict. It's the classic monk leaves the Shaolin temple and goes into the secular world. It's the cleric that goes into the secular world. Even today, the nun that leaves the the enclave, and they're like, no, you need to be with us and pray. And they're like, no, we need to save lives. We need to feed people. Like, I'm not sitting back in this behind these walls, these gilded walls and whatnot. So that can also be a problem as well. Azala says, in one game, we were on an airship and came across pirates. A mage appeared, hovering over it, and summoned 2 huge zombie bears. We just jumped overboard and floated to the ground. Sucks for them. Yeah. I mean, sure, it could be like, I'm getting out of here. I'm getting the hell out of here. JP says, natural environments are great too. Tornadoes, meteor strikes, flash floods, forest fires, avalanches. Everyone needs to go downhill. Needs to go downhill. The avalanche chase sequence. Hell yeah! It's you. We often don't include those things in games, right? The flash flood, the forest fires, and the avalanches. The hurricanes and such. The meteor strikes that you just mentioned in the chat. We tend to make those things happen like far in the past. Like, oh, in my setting there was a great meteor strike, and that's where we forged our weapons from because a comet fell to Earth or whatever, fallen star idea, right? Or this land has been ravaged by great storms or whatever, but then the PCs get there and they're just like, I really don't see much. It's not really that bad for me. It could be that these things are happening now. A forest fire, you have to get the hell out of there. And you can have those encounters too. How many? A ton of natural creatures and dire creatures and giant creatures may be running from a flash fire. The woods are on fire. They're running past you. They're panicked. You're standing in their way. Hell yeah, the giant deer or moose is going to trample over your ass. You're like, you're in my way. I'm getting the hell out of here. The pumas and the cheetahs are running for it and running past you. The black bear is going to swipe at you as it tries to run past. These things are going to happen to you, and then it's the classic, the enemy of my enemy, possibly. So the PCs run from the tornado or the meteor strikes that are landing on the ground or whatever. It's the natural or even supernatural event that's happening, and they, in order to find shelter, they end up finding the same shelter as their enemy, or they have to work together with their enemy. I mean, we've seen this in Road Warrior with the sandstorm, right? Fury Road, there's this big giant sandstorm, and they're like, blazing down the sandy road on their massive vehicles and their diesel powered, and then the sandstorm's coming, and it's like, hey, go right into the sandstorm. The show Black Flag with pirates, and the one pirate is like, dude, turn into the storm. And they're like, we should not be going directly into the storm. And he's like, we need to get them off our ass. Let's just take our ship, go straight into the storm. We're going to lose them. I guarantee I'll save your lives. You know what I mean? And so you have this backdrop of of powerful things flying through the air, trees flying through the air, debris, bolts of lightning striking down, meteors. You're looking up in the sky and hoping you don't get slammed with a meteor that just starts making craters in the ground. Scott Post says, Jared, these are some awesome ideas. Imagine that they're not natural disasters, but your way of showing how powerful that their new evil wizard is. Who knows that what's going on, that there is a powerful enemy? Or imagine different city states that there are entities that work and serve each city state. One of them commands air. Imagine a world commanded by druids, but these are druids that are massively powerful, right? One city's protected by powerful forces of air, and if you get close to the city, anything around it gets struck by lightning and tornadoes and high winds. Like you see these massive number of dust devils circling around the city, and they spread out for miles and miles. And then there's another city that draws down fiery stone from the sky and blasts every area around it with meteors and stuff. And then maybe another druidic circle summons flash floods and torrential rains and floods the plains with water, and it's just nothing but rain for 39 days and 39 nights or whatever around it. And these druids have been fighting off the encroachment of high tech society, but now the power is going to their heads, and they've beat back the encroaching clockwork golems, but now they've taken over, and now things have changed, and now the druids are in control. I mean, you can have something like that where if you're in the city, you're protected, but you go outside the city, your ass better make a run for it to try to get to the other side. Azala says, piss off a powerful wizard, now run away from the conjured storm and fiery meteors. He said, I told you not to steal from the wizard, damn it. Yeah, you can. Why not have that, And sure, the wizard is up in the wizard's tower, protected by its powerful spells. And this is a great day. Jared P says 39 days and 39 nights. Legally distinct from the story of Noah. I did not. Hey, I didn't. It's copywritten. I didn't steal it. All I'm saying is that you could have the powerful wizards drawing down these great storms or causing earthquakes and upheavals. And in order for the PCs are, quote unquote, first level, they know shit, you better run your ass off. And then as they get more knowledge and power and become more attuned or accustomed to these powerful beings that are going after them, maybe powerful elemental creatures are stalking the woods, and they know that the PCs are free, and all other people are like enslaved behind city states with these powerful wizards, just kind of like a Dark Sun, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to be desert. It could just be that the powerful forces are under command of powerful beings, whether they're wizards or a cabal or a king with a mighty magical weapon or something. And slowly and surely, the PCs are liberating the people from these powerful individuals, but the entire setting is about running, right? We are running from the powerful pyromancer to get to a place where we can find a weapon powerful enough to take away his ability to do something. And we're running away from the powerful ice wizard who's freezing the landscape and blasting everything with causing avalanches and blasting everything with blizzards and, freezing people to death so we can take them out. And we're running away from the storm wizard, and we're running away from the earthen wizard who splits the ground, right? This could be a campaign as the PCs destroy demigods. Why do the gods have to be ephemeral? Why do they have to be up in the clouds and away? Why can't they be on the ground? Warlocks have patrons. Why can't those patrons be the demigods themselves, right? They could be these powerful beings that are the physical embodiment of them striding the earth or living in city states or being above them. Maybe, when the PCs are running from the tornado, maybe they see the storm god's face in the tornadoes that are happening. Jared P says, chase sequences are also an excellent way to split the party. You'll no doubt have some PCs lagging behind and thus not able to get to the final confrontation immediately. Hell yeah. The Earth Wizard splits the ground into chunks of first you think it's flat, fertile ground. The earthquake comes along and splits the ground, and now people are like balanced on top of these plateau spires that go deep down into the earth, and you have to try to jump and scramble and flip your way across from crumbling spire to get to some of your allies, because the halfling and dwarf are stuck on the one spire, but the elven, because elves are always better, because we know that. I mean, it's elf with the little asterisks, and at the bottom it always says better than everyone else. The elf is like jumping, skipping, and hopping across the plateaued spires and whatnot, and so they're trying to save their friends, and there's people throwing ropes to each other and casting spells to try to get them to go away. Babe, have a good one. All right, baby, love you. So yeah, guys, this week is Chase Week. This is the theme for this week. I'm glad you guys could stick through this. I didn't think didn't think to tell you about those themes. But please check that out. And oh, by the way, Roll Up and Die, Alex and Barker from Absolute Tabletop, and Be a Better Game Master, and of course Alex from Critical Hit Publishing, and Mr. Master Writer and Layout Artist and such, and the person that I help write books with. They are back, and I will link a video below. They talk about science fiction as well. So please, they also did a live broadcast to bring back, they really didn't go away, not really any pod fade, but they, two of the three, because Matt Click is with them as well for Roll Up and Die. You will be able to hear and see Alex and Barker, of course, and just so basically subscribe to them, subscribe to their Facebook feed, check out the podcast on Podbean and all that kind of stuff. And they, of course, they did this for Con Plus One or Con Plus this weekend as well for the 24-hour convention. So I just wanted to bring that up. I'll put that in the links below. Yeah, Poo says I'm right off to watch that. Yeah, I can't put that in the chat, but I will put Roll Up and Die podcast and video, and how about YouTube video. So yeah, Alex is the individual. Alex and Rob, he's not, of course, he's not part of Roll Up and Die, but Alex is 1/3 of the Roll Up and Die crew with Barker and Matt Click from A Fistful of Dice. And of course, Barker and Matt Click together make up Absolute Tabletop. Whew. Anyway, it makes sense. If you think about it, it does make sense. So Alex is the individual that's helped, that I was the one that I went to quite a few years ago to bring up the cinematic environments, which he helped me lay out for these. So I'm really appreciative of him including me into Critical Hit and helping me get these cinematic environments across. We are working on many things. I'm currently writing Subterranean and Forests, as well as Cityscapes. Joseph Keenan and Keto often make some excellent comments in the comment section on these videos, because they're not really able to get into the chat like live all the time. So they made some points, because I talked about the cinematic environments and was talking about the Plains book, and he said, well, you know, the urban environment is kind of weird, but you know, it's kind of odd. So I'm working on urban environments. Believe you me, I deep dive into these things. So the things we talk about, me going off and coming up with these story ideas that we do in an hour, these are the things that I write down over the course of days and weeks and months, right? And then each of those ideas gets fleshed out to become their own thing, and then all of that gets compiled together by those guys. So despite me sometimes getting a little scatterbrained, the idea is to always be an idea generator. So yeah, I'm always holding up these books, whatever. But anyway, this is like, you know, Plains and Grasslands. I've got, I don't even know what this says. Desert Waste is a cinematic environment. There's, of course, they're on Drive Through RPG. Here we go. This Arctic lands. We're talking about those avalanches and stuff. Absolutely. This is aquatic depths, and absolutely talk about storms and not just underwater, but also talking about anything related to water, whether it's flooded chambers or frozen lakes and all that other kind of stuff. And then the gaming effects of having that, as well as the fact that, you know, we have, you know, mountains, anything from thin air to, of course, climbing and climbing mountaintops, using ropes and equipment and such. This is blasted lands. This is nothing but volcanic regions, whether the blasted lands include pyroclasms and acid lakes and geysers and lava flows and earthquakes and rock slides and all that other kind of stuff, noxious fumes and whatnot. The survival book, which is literally based off of a number of actual survival guides, including building fires, building shelter, tracking enemies, rations, how to preserve foods. There's a random preserving food table and all that kind of. It's there's 2 D100 encounter tables, whether you are traveling or whether you are camped out. So I'm going to end. Oh, one last book. There is Aerial Reaches. So if you want to have you want an environment to run your airships in, or your flying creatures in, or your mounted rider to, leaping off into the distance into the airship, and you want a dynamic region for them to be in, that's the book. Storms and all those kind of things. So I'm going to end this with traveling. Somebody pick a number between 1 and 100 and put it in the chat if you can, and then we're going to say goodbye. but yeah, there are a ton of things we can do and use in a chase, and I absolutely believe that these cinematic environs books are absolutely designed for that. So we have an 83 and a 74. So here we go. Okay, so you're 79. Okay, so here we go. So you're traveling along. Let's start with the first number, 83. Let's see now. And by the way, this is the let's see what'll come. This is the survival book. So all of these are all the 100 encounters. All right, 83. A large stone that seems to have once been part of a larger structure is jutting out of the ground. On its surface is an intricately carved image depicting a great battle between dwarves and medium-sized humanoid rabbits wielding sickles. Yeah, kind of bizarre. Right? You have to have 100. A vine, number 74, a vine-covered marble statue of a young woman is down on one knee praying to a row of 5 wraithwood trees. Each tree has a natural knot in its trunk that looks like an eye staring at the woman. When the wind blows, a whispering sound emanates from the trees, causing everyone within 120 feet to make a wisdom save, DC 10, or become frightened for 1d12 minutes. Very bizarre traveling on and seeing something like that. And of course, the idea is to have an encounter that could build a story. Like, it could just be random, like whatever, the PCC or whatever, or they could get latched onto it. So there's a little bit of a story idea. 79, a dwarven hermit lives in a quaint little village in the middle of nowhere. He's constantly making clever and cunning toys that he stores in a stone warehouse below the cottage. Excuse me. He will not speak to anyone, but will offer food and drink to travelers. Each visitor leaves with a unique and slightly magical toy. The DM can come up with something interesting. All right. So now I'm going to use those same numbers. That's when you're traveling along. I'm going to use those same numbers when you're camping. So we're going to go to 83. An elderly pig-like animal is dying in a small clearing near camp. Its death is from natural causes, so it is safe to eat, though not terribly tasty. It will provide 46 rations or meals if properly processed. You're also camping along. As a storm is moving through the area, the characters see a flash of lightning about a mile away, followed by a small fire and the crashing of a large tree. And 79, while you're camping, a strong scent of urine marks a boulder near camp. The characters can make a nature skill check, DC 12, to realize that this is the territory of some species of big cat. So each of these things, like there's a D100, there is a D100 table for resting, basically camping, like, hey, we're taking a rest and we see this thing. And then there's a D100 table for, this is in the appendix, and another D100 table for random events. But anyway, this is in the survival book. My point being is that not done making the cinematic environs. We hope, the goal is, this is not a hope, it will happen. All of these books will end up being put into a compendium. So, of course, the reprinting crap is going to be pulled out of it, right? But they're going to be put into a compendium of every. Oh, you do have the survival one. Yeah, they're going to be put into a compendium where all of it will be put together, plus with added material. So all the details that get pulled out, because the first couple of pages tend to be the same, but the rest of them are different. The survival book is the most different from any of them, because it details basically, the basic tenets of survival. What is it? There's a rule in survival called the rule of three. It says that in general, humans can live only 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food, and 3 months without hope. And that is in the introduction uh, of this. And it goes on to be divided into earth, air, fire, water, and spirit, and how that affects survival. So, water, of course, it's about water. Air is about breathing and being able to get your air. Earth is about shelter and hunting. Fire is, of course, generating fire and heat and using fire for illumination and cooking things. And of course, spirit is about despair and losing hope when you're injured and all that kind of business. But long story short is that they will be put into a compendium. We're going to add all of the natural environments and then move on from there to the mystical. So, yeah, Jared says 3 hours without shelter, don't go camping. Yeah, exactly. It's the 3 hours without shelter isn't like you need to be 3 hours and get into a tent. Technically, it's you need to be able to survive in the element that you're in, the environment that you're in, for no more than 3 hours. So if it's freezing cold, you need your boots and your coat and all that kind of business, right? That's your shelter, whether it's your clothing, whether it's you are sheltered from the elements, whether you're in a torrential rainstorm and you need to get under cover or something. Like after about 3 hours, you start to lose. If you are not physically battered, you will start to lose hope in those methods when you don't have those things near you. For example, like it says you can survive up to 3 weeks without food if you have water. That seems like a long time to live without food, but people do go a long time when they're starving. What usually happens is you lose hope before all of those things happen. People who get lost in the woods tend to become panicked when you don't have those things necessary, when you start to suffocate, 3 minutes without air at the most. Halfway through that, you'll probably pass out. You'll start to panic. Your mind starts to go. So yes, 3 hours without shelter is a real thing, because we tend to live in temperate zones where if we just wear regular clothing, we're fine. But that's because our feet are shod. You know what I mean? We're wearing something on our feet. We're wearing something on our back. We are protected from the outdoors. So yeah, it goes into details like that. It's a little, it's quite a bit nerdy. It's a little bit grognardian with some of these details, even going so far as to having an option to count calories if you want to. Yeah, Scott Poe says 3 hours without AC, I do begin to lose hope. Hell yeah, you're out there in Arizona. Heck yeah, it's getting colder here. Yeah, 3 hours without AC, and people start to call the authorities. Right? It's the donate a fan kind of thing for places that are super hot. You know what I mean? Those things really happen, even though we don't think about it that way. It is a true thing. People start to like, I'm going to go to the movies just because there's air conditioning in there, right? So anyway, guys, nature killing introvert and home bodies. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's a very much a danger for people to do that. So anyway, guys, got to go to work. It's daylight savings time, so I get to work into the dark. I get 1 hour less of working, but my bosses don't seem to think that matters. 24 years and yeah. So I'll be off at around 8 o'clock probably tonight. You guys have a very good day. Thank you for joining me. I am still working on. I've deleted some of those videos for the verbal component. I'm still working on it. I've got my I think I've got a pretty good thumbnail going on for it to draw some attention and whatnot. Those will be the shorter videos. This weekend was Con Plus, so I didn't do that because I wanted to be part and parcel of Con Plus. So all of you, thank you very much for joining in. Deliver Ferris Bueller style. Yeah, thumbs up. Yeah, unless that thumb is supposed to go into that OK circle. You're kind of dirty there, dude. You're kind of dirty. So anyway, everyone have a good one. Chase day tomorrow as well. Tips and tricks. We're going to go a little more into. We can go a little bit more into mechanics for chases. For Tips and Tricks Tuesday, World Building Wednesday, we're going to come up with settings that kind of require a chase, or settings that where a chase is part of that environment, right? Indiana Jones, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars. There's a chase where there's a chase in vehicles. There's a chase, Mad Max. There's chases. Okay, guys, you guys are sick. You guys are dirty, 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 dirty. Bad Deadman, bad JP. So the other idea is that for, of course, Third Pillar Thursday, my favorite, we're going to talk about the environment, things we can throw in front of people for a chase. And then lastly, Future Friday, we will talk about sci-fi chases. Absolutely, starships, wormholes, re-entry surfing, all those kind of sci-fi things. So sci-fi chases, running through habs, chases across the dead of space from one derelict spaceship to another. Some things that we're going to go over that as well. So thank you guys very much for joining me. Okay, dirty emojis need to stop. Dirty, you're just going to get that in my head now. Guys, thank you very much for being part of the RPG with DBJ. I really appreciate it. It gives me the energy. This is like my coffee rather than drinking my my salted caramel drink. Hey, Bolt House, if you want to be a sponsor, you can send over a case of your finest and favorite latte. So guys, have a good one. I will see thee tomorrow. See ya. Oh man.